6 out of 10 Republicans recommend FTR Radio to everyone they know. The other 4 are rhinos. FTR Radio, online at FTRradio.com. FTR Radio salutes some of the great Democrat presidents in the radio era. FTR Radio.
You're listening to Liz and Taylor.
Alright, so why can't I get another tattoo? Come on.
Because you get another tattoo, then you start talking another gun.
But not the movie star, the battling duo from the Right War on FTR Radio.
Oh, come on.
You're the one who said it.
That was a joke, partially.
Enlist in the Right War. Won't cost you nothing. Not as good as military service, but it's got to count for something, right?
Good evening, folks. You're listening to FTR Radio. This is The Right War. I'm Liz Harrison, and of course, I have Taylor here.
I just discovered something amazing.
I better chain you up before you go and try to run off with it.
Absolutely amazing. I can't believe it.
Yeah?
According to someone, an Australian, the U.S. controls what Australia does.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Obama is now the ruler of Australia. Who knew?
I know.
They are so lucky. Can they keep him?
I
Could
also
he please?
discovered...
No trade backs.
Yeah, no trade, no take backs. I also discovered something. Actually, both of us discovered something tonight.
Oh?
Apparently, Obama is to blame for all $18 trillion in debt.
Well, if you believe the lady at the bar who I was talking to, then yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the like close to octogenarian, 80-year-old, like 70, 80-year-old woman who I was talking to at the bar. Yes. Yes. Obama is a
why are you trying to
who
pick
is
up
responsible. Oh, come on.
Why are you trying to pick up elderly women at a bar?
Hey, she sat next to me.
Oh, so she was trying to pick you up.
Yes, I think so.
It's the
I think
beard.
that's actually how it went down.
It's the beard.
I've grown it. It's getting longer. I think the chicks dig it, and especially the older ones, they just dig the beard, dude. That's what it
dear.
is. Especially now that the gray hair is starting to come in. Yeah.
Oh, somebody else is getting... Okay, I feel better now.
Why?
Somebody who's technically younger than me by a few months is getting gray hair in his beard, too. I feel better now.
Oh, good God. You know, both of you, just go away. Really. Seriously.
Okay, Jason, I guess
Good
we'll
God!
chat later.
I don't... This is not fair. Tom would totally understand this in the chat. He knows exactly what I'm talking about here. You two are complaining about a little bit of gray. Every time I look in the freaking mirror, I'm thinking, oh, I guess the next time before I decide to wash my hair, I'd better go and pull out the hair coloring because there's a freaking line.
Liz, you know I've been going...
Hey, Liz, you know what? These are all your problems. and
I love you, Jason.
I love you too, and I don't care. All I care about is the gray hair I see in my beard. And
oh dear!
Although I realize I'm getting older, that I do not like gray hair in my beard, and it makes me feel old. That's all there is to it.
There's
nothing you could say. There's nothing you could say that's going to make me feel any better about the situation.
For the record, Liz, I've been going gray since I was 27.
I started going gray in high school.
I didn't start noticing mine until like about a year ago. The gray hair in the beard I've noticed like in the last 6 months.
I actually don't 100% care, really. I just like to, complain about it.
You're male.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, you're male. Think about it. It is such a double standard. There's only one person who I know who got away with doing the full gray deal. Her name was Ann Devlin. She used to be on WTAE in Pittsburgh. She did one of the first morning local talk shows on the same type of format as like Sally Jesse Raphael.
Oh, God.
And yeah, she got away with it. She was full gray. It was silver. It was gorgeous, smooth hair. No, that's not what I get.
I thought you were going to
wish
dye
I
your hair
did.
blonde.
I'm not going to dye my hair blonde again. Because usually
no,
if I
bleach
do
it.
that...
You dyed your hair blonde?
Yeah. Yeah, I've bleached it before. Only in
I've only done
streaks.
that once. I had a Chelsea for a while, and I dyed the front of it blonde.
Mm.
You know what a Chelsea is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Basically, I've put blonde streaks in before. Not entirely unlike Katrina, but Katrina put, like, face framing. I didn't. And then it ended up being brighter red than the rest of my hair. So, one of those deals. But, yeah, I have to go and take care of the roots soon. It's depressing.
Okay. The one thing I will say is my wife, who is not quite 30, she has more gray hair than I do. And she probably, if she's not listening, she's in bed already. But like, if she were listening, she would be texting me angry messages right now. So, but she dyes her hair to cover up. Like when she doesn't dye her hair frequently enough, you can see like her roots starting to grow out, and it's like really noticeable. And I always like tease with her about it. It's just funny to see her reaction. She hates it so much. So
yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. My reaction is pretty much the same as your wife's.
Yeah, but I don't have to live with you. There's a big difference. I mean, I can troll you as much as I want, and there are no consequences to this whatsoever.
Did you?
Wait a minute, Jason. I do recall somebody wanted to talk to me about something. You were saying? Just pointing out the obvious. Don't say you control me all you want. Just don't.
Fine.
I'm female. Hear me roar or something.
You're
Okay,
rebelling
Katy
against
Perry.
the patriarchy.
No, I am rebelling against the Islamofascists who want to put me in a veil and make me follow Sharia law because, that's what they say that everybody must do. They want to make the whole
no one
world that
wants
way.
you to do that.
No, you guys don't, but that wackadoodle individual who had been on the Hannity show does.
Jason, did you read that?
I saw that guy. I saw that guy last night on Hannity. I just happened, and I don't regularly watch like any cable news except for like in the mornings. I'll catch Morning Joe and then switch it over to America's Newsroom on Fox. By that time, by 6 o'clock, the TV is off, and I'm like doing my own thing. So last night, because I'm in DC this week, I was in the hotel room, and I decided to call it early night. I just happened to be watching while I was trying to fall asleep the Hannity show. And I saw that guy on Hannity, and I was just like, oh, my God, this guy is crazy. Like, I don't remember his name to save my life, but just crazy.
Chaduri or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I found amusing, and I'm just going to repeat a tweet that I said, I don't care. Everybody will live. It's the fact that, Chowdhury is, using his First Amendment right to free speech while saying that the First Amendment shouldn't exist.
Right.
Chowdhury. Yeah. I just,
Well, I mean,
I'm
it's just the
amused
same
by
as
that.
Obama. I'm amused by Obama defending the First Amendment and then saying that political campaign donations, which are ostensibly free speech, should be regulated further. That's humorous to me, just as humorous to me.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. But
Oh, Liz,
Yes?
before I forget, Brian in the chat room says that you should try pink.
Try pink hair?
Yeah.
That's Jenny's area, not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do pink hair. Somebody asked me to do that, the pink highlight thing. They were actually doing it free of charge here, and I still said no. The closest that I get was, I said to the hairdresser, if you're really insistent and you want me to do this, then you've got to get me a section of pink hair that I could just clip in and take back out again, because I'm not doing that to my hair. I'll literally go down to the scalp and cut it off. So, yeah. I didn't want a bald spot.
Okay, I have an odd question to ask. Why is free... Oh, this is why. Really? Obama proposed 2 free years of community college for students?
Yeah.
yeah,
Really?
I just read that before I came on the show. I was finishing up my dinner and was reading that story. And I haven't read I don't even know if there are any details yet. But I was just like, free? Really? Free?
Now, wasn't this under another name previously? You were able to go and pay off portions of your college education regardless of whether it was community college, state college, private institution, didn't matter. It was called AmeriCorps, wasn't it?
I'm not familiar with AmeriCorps, so I couldn't answer that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the whole deal was, but I know that there was, well, let's be real. Students were not going to go and join AmeriCorps unless it was going to erase some portion of their their school loans. I can't speak tonight. Scholastic debt. There you go. Now I could say it.
I'm
having one of those
I can't speak to
nights.
that either.
I'm way too hyper and frustrated and annoyed.
I've been tripping over my words all day long. Like, regardless of what I'm talking about, I have been tripping over my words.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Listen to how this is worded and tell me if this is not corporatism or close to fascism. There, I'll say it. Close to fascism.
Okay.
If all 50... This is on the White House. This is on the White House's web page, okay?
Yeah.
All right? If all 50 states choose to implement the president's new community college proposal, it could save full-time community college student $3,800 in tuition per year on average, benefit roughly 9 million students each year. Under President Obama's new proposal, students would be able to earn the first half of a bachelor's degree or even the technical skills needed in the workforce at no cost to them. So basically he's saying, hey, states, oh, by the way, Liz, play pint-sized. Yes. Play pint-sized.
Yes, sir. Let me find pint-sized.
I didn't hear... Oh, wait, Liz, don't play it yet. Taylor,
okay.
Say please.
Yes.
Say please. Say please.
Please. Sorry. Liz, please play his pints. Please
play. Don't be a dick about it. Don't be a dick about it. Just ask politely, sir.
No, I'm like worked up over this.
Okay. I'm playing it.
This is the Pint-Sized Pundit, and I'm here to tell you that anything Taylor says on the right war is his opinion and his opinion only. He does not speak for his employees, his employer's employer, or anyone else. He especially does not speak for my mom unless she says so.
Okay, the child has been played.
The requirements. What students have to do. They must attend community college at least half-time, maintaining at least half-time. So you only have to... So you have to do... What? That's what? 10 hours of classes?
6.
6? 6 hours of classes.
12 is usually considered full-time.
Okay. maintain a 2.5 GPA, and make steady progress towards completing the program. Well, community colleges have...
You said
2.5.
5.
Which is, like, not good.
Yeah.
It's not terrible, but it's not good.
Okay, I had a 2.0.
It's a middle C.
I only had a 2.5 in high school.
I had a 3.5 in high school. We're not going to discuss that. What community colleges have to do? Community colleges will be expected to offer programs that are either one, academic programs that fully transfer credits to local public 4-year colleges and universities, or 2, occupational training programs with high graduation rates and lead to in-demand degree and certificates. Community colleges must also adopt promising and evidence-based institutional reforms to improve student outcomes. What the federal government has to do. Federal funding will cover 3/4 of the average cost of community college. Participating states will be expected to contribute the remaining funds necessary to eliminate the tuition for eligible students. All right, I'm just going to say this right now. This sounds like corporatism and fascism.
I don't know that I agree, because it sounds to me like it's a voluntary proposal based on what you just said. It doesn't sound like it's something that's going to be a mandate. I don't see how many states are going to be able to do this, considering that most of them are struggling to pay for a lot of the federal mandates that already exist, and those who have expanded Medicaid, for example, are going to be struggling in a couple of years to figure out how to pay for the 10% of Medicaid funding that's not going to be there once the federal government starts reducing that funding. Fascism, corporatism, I don't know that I agree. Bad proposal, bad policy, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I'm worked up over this proposal. Just a little bit.
Fascism and corporatism is just the blending of public-private.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. My apology. Well, no, I will say this, because the community colleges are mostly private. And they are, and he is saying
fair enough.
Community colleges are going to have to do this.
All right, fair enough. I'll concede that. But still, I mean, it's voluntary. It's not a mandate. At least that's the way it sounds. I haven't read the details yet. Now, like I said, I read the story in the Hill right before we came on, and I haven't had a chance to really digest it yet. So Obamacare bailout, the Obamacare bailout, that's cronyism. If you want to call it corporatism or fascism, so be it. But, yeah.
I mean, this community college initiative is not a good idea. Just saying.
Oh,
this is
it's definitely bad. It's definitely bad policy.
Right, and
it sure isn't free. That's for sure.
Right, and as far as they go here, they are quasi-government entities. Because ours are based on what county you're in, and they do get support from county government financially. What level depends on the county and whether or not they have the money, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, and they already have reduced rates to begin with. Let's put it this way. If you're flipping burgers at McDonald's for 30 hours a week, because, that's what the new full-time is, and you go to community college, if you're fair to yourself, at most, you're going to enroll in 3 courses, which would be 9 credits. But a lot of students are only going to enroll in 6. And what they're usually able to do is, as long as they're not just scraping by trying to keep a roof over their heads, they're usually able to scrape together the amount of money required for the tuition. And if they can't afford the books, most of these institutions offer the opportunity to rent them, and then there is Amazon and Barnes & Noble, where you can get textbooks on the cheap, especially if somebody half-destroyed them and can't sell them back to their bookstore.
And the Pirate Bay and Kick-Ass Torrent, where you can download them pirated for free.
Exactly, but and there are also instructors that have a tendency of having a liberal policy with the copying. And also there is the ebook option on quite a few of the newer books that are coming out.
Right.
So, yeah, this is not the big deal that everybody's making it out to be, number one. And number two,
it's still
I'm not
a pretty
sure.
big deal. It's still a pretty big deal. I mean, it's because it's being sold as one thing and it's not. It's being sold as a free thing, and it's not free. It's not, absolutely not free.
Right. Well, it is to the people.
States are still covering from the recession, and I mean the lingering effects of the recession. They may have been things may be starting to pick up, but a lot of states still aren't seeing it in their tax revenues, and they're still making budget adjustments and so on and so forth. They're not going to have the money to cover this. So to say, I mean, it may not be the big deal that a lot of people are going to try to make it out to be, but it's still a big deal because of just because of state budget shortfalls and things like that.
Yeah, well, what I'm thinking is because of the state budget shortfalls and everything else, what I just said may be the answer from a lot of states, basically saying thanks but no thanks because, number one, it's already affordable. Number two, we don't have the money to pay for it. And number three, the only good part out of this is something that you could have done with a straight-up regulation as far as having to do with whether or not the kids would be able to get federal money or federal loans, and that is to sit there and say to the schools, you must meet performance standards or we're not going to give you money. And in the grand scheme of things, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And honestly, I would prefer to see them go and say, we want to see you enter into partnerships with large corporations and large employers in your area where it is applicable. Because like here in Pennsylvania, we had Sony move in. They moved back out. They got all these tax benefits and everything else. Why did they leave? Because the schools in the area did not know. No. It had everything to do with education. It had everything to do with education. They could not get workers to meet their minimum standards for math.
There are two things about when in a lot of cases, and it may not have been the case with Sony, but in a lot of cases, a lot of business and corporations move into states because they'll get all these abatements and passes on taxes and things like that. But in other cases, and I know this has been an issue in Georgia, although I have not read up on it, a lot of businesses are complaining that the state isn't, the workforce isn't educated enough for the type of work they're bringing into the state, at least trying to bring into the state. Which is, for example, why Kia came to Georgia about, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and Georgia gave a tremendous tax package to them, just like a lot of abatements, a lot of like deferred payments on taxes, things like that, to attract the Kia plant into the state. But they built it so close to the Alabama state line, which has a workforce that's more in line with what Kia wanted, that it's basically the job impact in Georgia's, last I read, was marginal at best. So it's just, I actually understand that argument.
Yeah.
All right, Mike in the chat room just said that it's another baby step towards socialism. Is it? I mean, unless you're talking about just getting it to where you're relying on the government for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Baby steps, I mean, if it were a mandate, and again, I have not read it enough to say whether it is or not, but if it's a mandate, that would be a different story. But if it's voluntary, like, this is going to be a State of the Union proposal that's going to get about 30 seconds worth of, like, talk, and then it's going to go away, because Congress is never going to pass it.
Right.
I mean, because based on what the article I read in The Hill, a lot of what they're wanting to do has to be approved by Congress. So,
right.
And we have a Republican-controlled Congress, while not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, probably isn't going to sign off on something like this.
No, they're not.
So,
they'd be more likely to sign off on a carrot and stick type deal, like I said, where the institutions have to start living up to some sort of standards that actually meet the market for where they are.
Sure.
So far, the plan doesn't have an official price tag other than significant, according to White House officials.
Yeah, of course, and it's going to be significant because you can't pay for the educations of what I would imagine would be several thousand people, if not more, and I mean into the tens of thousands, without like a huge price tag. I mean, the average. I mean, I don't know how much the cost of college or community college education is, but I mean, I would imagine it's cheaper than University of Georgia or something like that, where it costs like $30,000 a year to be educated. But still,
you could
you're
look
talking
at
about a lot of freaking money.
you could look at Pittsburgh Promise to see what the ballpark is, because although it is for state colleges, the level of participation is so low, comparatively speaking, that if you're looking at raw dollars, you get an idea, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah. I mean, basically, what's going to happen is a Democrat's going to file this. They're going to, and if we're lucky, we'll get a CBO score, and the CBO will give us some idea of what we can expect. Which we can probably add on. We could probably add on at least half of that, an additional half of what the CBO actually scores it as.
Right.
Here's something else that, of course, that we're all going to love. You know what this is based off of?
What?
The Tennessee Promise that Republican Governor Bill Haslam put together.
Just like Obamacare was a Massachusetts thing.
Yeah.
Passed by a Republican governor.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me guess, the state legislature in Tennessee was also Democrat.
Hey,
You'll have
Common
to look
Core
into
was.
that.
I don't think so.
Common Core was put together under a Republican governor in Georgia, man. So it's like totes okay, right?
Oh, no. Just like No Child Left Behind isn't totally okay.
Just
no,
like
the Speaker of the...
Just like Medicare Part D, just like, God, can we keep naming bad policies passed by the Republicans that Democrats have co-opted?
Yeah. Or bad policies that were proposed by Democrats that Republicans co-opted. Hi, VA.
There you go.
Anyway.
To answer your question, Liz, that you were asking, Ron Ramsey is the Speaker of the Senate. He's been the Speaker of the Senate since 2007. Care to guess which party he's a part of?
Republican.
Beth Harwell has been the Speaker of the House since 2011.
They have a Speaker of the Senate?
Yes.
Instead of the lieutenant governor. Anyway.
And she was preceded... Hang on. And she was preceded by Kent Williams.
Another Republican.
Another Republican.
Okay.
Until he got thrown out of the party during his second term when he voted with all 49 House Democrats to elect himself Speaker. Shortly afterwards, the state Republican Executive Committee threw him out of the party. Williams chose Carter County Republican as his new party designation. And I thought Texas politics was insane.
Weird. Yeah. Okay, on that note, we're going to take a break because, we have Pint Size Pundit, and I need to breathe or cough or something. So we will be right back, folks. Hello, this is Liz Harrison from The Right War here on FTR Radio. And when I want to bring you the best conservative talk on the net, I use Radio Boss from djsoft.net. It's time for the Pint Size Pundit.
Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to talk about how in the NFL playoffs, the Steelers were eliminated, the Lions were eliminated, the Cardinals were eliminated. That I couldn't believe my eyes or ears when I heard that or saw that. And the Bengals were eliminated. So, yeah, with that, there were 3 AFC North teams. One of them goes on to play, who are they going to play? New England. And then Andrew Luck gets to play Peyton Manning in the divisional round. In the AFC, that's the AFC divisional matchups. In the NFC, will be the Panthers versus the, who am I trying to say? I think the Packers. And, no, Panthers versus Seahawks. And then there's also, the other game is between the Packers and the Cowboys. I'm gonna go with Packers and Patriots in the Super Bowl. Packers win. And, well, other than that, nothing going on in baseball really except a whole bunch of good free agents out there. That happens every off season. Henry Ramirez, I guess, is going to Boston. I think. I don't know. That's what I've heard. I didn't look that one up because of that one. I didn't really care about Henry Ramirez. I don't care about Henry Ramirez. Can't stand Henry Ramirez. Just like my dad and I cannot stand Yadier Molina. Because the way that they talk about him during the playoffs on TBS makes him sound like a god. So like you put Yadier Molina, the second best at catching guys steal in the MLB. And then you're talking like he's a god. And then you get Russell Martin leading the league in catching runners steal. They were playing each other in the playoffs. And they really didn't talk about him about that. They didn't talk about that. Yet they talk about the second best. They don't talk about the first best. They don't talk about the best. And with that, I just overall hate the Cardinals. It's just a Pittsburgh thing. And also, let me think. What else is going on? Cavs in a slump. Kobe's in a slump. Well, Kobe's been in a slump ever since they beat the Celtics 2 years in a row, pretty much. And, so yeah, that's the NBA. NHL, Bruins come out of their losing streak as they beat the Penguins 3-2 in overtime, so they wanted to stop their first 4-game losing streak of the year, I think. And they did stop that. The Penguins, they really wanted to beat the Bruins because of that is a hard thing for the Penguins. That's just that bad team that they can't beat. Just like the Flyers. They can't beat the Flyers. And other than that, baseball is right around the corner still. I mean, soon pitchers and catchers will be going down to Florida and Arizona. And after that, the whole team will be going down to Florida. All the teams will be heading to Florida and Arizona for 2 months. And then I think everybody gets at least a 1-day break off of spring training. And then they go right back to baseball. They get a traveling day to go back up home just to play baseball. So, yeah, that's all there is today. I mean, I'm trying to keep it mostly sports now for the sport fans out there. So, peace.
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan. You should have respected my authority.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to FTR.
And we're back. And the kid's saying that he's doing the sports all of the time because of the sports fans out there. Yeah, it's that, but we've got a little capitalist in the making or something. Because he has aspirations to be an ESPN sports commentator.
Free markets, free people.
Exactly. So he's learning early. Taylor,
right,
you had a definition to read.
Yeah, and then I'm going to read something from this proposal, and I'm curious what both of y'all think, if this is kind of the same or similar or not. All right? This is the definition of mercantilism as found in the book 30-Second Politics, the 50 most thought-provoking theories in politics, each explained in half a minute. This is mercantilism. Mercantilism refers to the economic thought and practice prevailing in Europe throughout the 16th and 18th centuries, which emphasized a protectionist role for the government in building a powerful state. A state's power was dependent on its national wealth, which was defined in terms of gold and silver reserves. Since the amount of world wealth was unchangeable, a state could only increase its wealth and power at the expense of other states. Based on these perceptions, mercantilist states exercise strict policies to ensure a positive balance of trade by restraining imports and encouraging exports through tariffs and subsidies. Domestic production was largely encouraged and carefully regulated by the government to maintain economic self-sufficiency as well as an advantage in foreign markets. A merchant marine and naval fleet was built to secure exclusive trade privilege to conquer overseas colonies that served as supplies of raw materials to the mother colony and markets for finished products. In history, the mercantilist era was associated with the aggressive trading activities by merchants such as the British East India Company. So there's that. Now, some of this you're going to have to dismiss because obviously we're not in the colony and all that stuff. But directly from the White House. Today, the president unveiled a new proposal: make 2 years of community college free for responsible students across America. In our growing global economy, Americans need to have more knowledge and more skills to compete. By 2020, an estimated 35% of job openings will require at least a bachelor's degree, and 30% will require some college or an associate's degree. Students should be able to get the knowledge and the skills they need without taking on decades worth of student debt. Thoughts?
Liz?
It sounds relatively similar. And of course it doesn't address the problem, but hey, nothing's new.
No, I'm going with the language.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, the language is similar.
Similar, yeah. Fascism was more private ownership existed in name only.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the economic system. It was basically socialism is state owned, and the means are controlled by the state and state owned. But fascism, the means are still in private hands. The state dictates what's done. I think if you want to talk about fascism and corporatism, it's more, as I mentioned earlier, Obamacare. Obamacare is more. I mean, so the insurance industry is so heavily regulated that it's ostensibly a fascist, industry.
This is how they describe. This is how they describe fascism. Fascism is a radical and totalitarian nationalistic governing philosophy that has its origins in Italy under Benito Mussolini and also emerged in different forms in Adolf Hitler's Germany and Francisco Franco's Spain. It is an illiberal regime type insofar as it denies the significance and rights of the individual and expects citizens to function together in a corporate fashion for the glory of the state. Funny how this sounds a lot like communism. Fascism is defined at Fascism is defined as much by what it opposes as what it supports. It is anti-modern, anti-rationality, anti-democratic, and amusingly, vehemently anti-communist. Well,
no, the amazing thing was
Hayek would disagree there.
Yeah, Hayek would disagree there. Ayn Rand would disagree there because Ayn Rand always said in her book, Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal, she described the three major prevailing philosophies outside of capitalism, which are fascism, socialism, and communism.
Yeah.
And all three of them have one common theme, or not one common theme, but a significant common theme, which was the subversion of the individual in favor of the state. All three, socialism may not be totalitarian, but communists like Karl Marx always consider socialism to be the transitioning period between a capitalist regime and a communist regime.
Yeah.
But they all three had that major. I mean, they were all three collectivist in nature, which collectivism is the triumph of the people as a whole over the individual. And, I mean, you could look at the comparison quotes between Marx and Stalin and even Che Guevara and some of the things that were said by Adolf Hitler. I mean,
and some of the things that were said by FDR.
No, I mean, if you go back and look at it, I mean, I can't remember specific quotes or who said them, but I think Mussolini even praised a lot of the things that FDR was doing in the New Deal because they were very fascist in nature. You may want to do a quick Google. I'm not in front of a computer right now, but
actually, I will tell people. I will tell people where they can go and find that stuff. Read 3 New Deals by Wolfgang Schivelbusch.
Yes, that's a great book. It's a great book. That one, FDR, The Roosevelt Myth and FDR's Folly are fantastic books.
Okay, now we're gonna end up going and circling and ripping apart this community college initiative. And silly female that I am, I know the end game here. We sit there and say, this isn't a good idea. The response from the opposition is going to be, well, then what would work? And then you'll be standing there going, well, I don't know.
I mean, the fact of the matter is not everybody's cut out to go to college. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You know, and another fact of the matter is it's anyone who wants a certain skill set, if they just apply themselves to do what they want to do, they don't necessarily need a college degree. I don't have a college degree. I didn't finish college. I had 3 semesters. Well, technically 2 semesters. I didn't finish the 3rd one of college.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean, and I consider myself moderately successful. I'm not rich, but I'm doing what I want to do for a living. I get to write about public policy for a living. I love that. But, like, I'm sorry, but when it's all said and done, we need people who, and they aren't glorious jobs, but we need people who go and do plumbing in our homes. We need people who put roofs on our houses. We need people who pick up the garbage. And sorry, not everybody's cut out for college. I mean,
okay, now wait a minute. Before we get into all of that, the argument on their side is that they want people to have educational opportunities without being saddled with major debt. So we're going to go into the whole concept that they are targeting individuals that are theoretically made for college one way or another. Now, I'd argue that the solution lies in, and I hate to say it because I hate involving government, but this is sort of backward, as opposed to government throwing money at a problem, which is why we've gotten into the situation we're in now when it comes to massive debt. Because every time that the colleges, which, by the way, they have been increasing their costs at a rate significantly higher than inflation in our economy. Every time that they increase their rates, the government gives students more money through loans and through grants. No.
We're trading.
We need to stop. Right. We're creating the problem, basically, by throwing more money.
Government does.
Right. Exactly.
We're taking this. Well, we look at the student loan bubble, and which is some people feel it's bursting, which may be true. certainly seems that way. But I don't see in this particular proposal where are the pay-fors, how are we going to pay for it, and if it involves more debt, like how do you justify adding this new program, which is ostensibly an entitlement? You're creating a new entitlement, whether they realize it or not. That's what they're doing. So how do you do that and justify the $18 trillion? We have an $18 trillion debt. We're still running budget deficits. They may not be the percentage of GDP that they were 5 years ago, but the last time I looked, federal spending is going to keep increasing and increasing and increasing as all these entitlement programs that we already have on the books, the four major ones, and Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare, and then you have interest on the national debt. Bottom line, we can't afford this. It's going to cost money.
There are a couple bottom lines involved here. Number one, community college is less affordable for students that are in the entry level in the employment field right now because of Obamacare reducing hours to 30. That's number one. And of course, he's going to veto that if we go and try to undo that damage.
Well,
number
already
two,
passed in the House.
Number two, and it's going to pass the Senate easily. It's going to pass the Senate easily. So we have that. We have the government continually throwing money at the colleges, so what they do is keep on increasing their fees because they can get away with it. What we need to do is, instead of going and playing around with the community college system, which arguably is not broken, is already affordable, we need to fix the employment issue, get us back to the 40-hour standard. But additionally, we need to stop the money going to the colleges, and we need to sit there and say enough is enough. I'm sorry to all of the whiners at Harvard, especially after their temper tantrum over Obamacare. I'm sorry that you're going to have to pay more for your health care. Suck it. And basically, at this point, I'm sorry. We are done paying more tuition and everything else. We need to sit there and say, this is the solution to the education problem, by the way. We have to cut back severely on the amount of money that we're giving to institutions. If they don't rectify their financial situation and reduce their fees for students, they will no longer be eligible for federal funds. That's what I mean by federal regulation that I really don't like the idea of pulling the Fed into. But the Republicans need to reply with that. Instead of messing around with the community college system, we need to rein in the four-year colleges and say enough is enough. Payday is over. You don't get any loan money. You don't get any Perkins loans. You don't get any of the Pell Grants anymore if you don't reduce the cost of education in your institution, period. And set a flat percentage each year and tell the unions that are representing these fat cat professors, suck it. Because these people are getting paid not only by their institutions, but also by lovely companies like McGraw-Hill. And I'll tell you right now, I know how those people live because I used to deal with someone who was an executive vice president who dealt with the individuals who wrote textbooks for colleges. These people have freaking fountains in their foyers. Really? Seriously. You're freaking teachers. You're teachers. Get over yourselves. You have many ways to make additional money beyond the tenured money you get from your institution, namely companies like McGraw-Hill, because you publish or die. Even when you're tenured, you can end up getting into issues. You won't necessarily lose your job, but you will lose the plum classes that you want to be teaching. They will stick you with the crap if you're not publishing. And if you're publishing, you're getting paid by those publishers in addition to the colleges. So I'm sorry. These people have additional forms of income that last forever. They are willable because they pass those copyrights down. You know this, Jason. So do you, Taylor. You can will that down to your offspring. They can re-up your copyrights and keep getting paid for hundreds of years in the future. Get over yourselves. And I know information changes and it becomes no longer relevant. In some cases, yes. In other cases, no. Look at the history people. They never become irrelevant. It doesn't really change until they decide to reevaluate it and change it.
Why do you think I got a history degree?
Exactly.
Why do you
So,
think I didn't finish college?
yeah, the problem is not they're going to create a problem in the community colleges. They were already affordable. They made them unaffordable by decreasing the number of hours the entry-level workers could have, as well as everybody else. And now they're trying to fix the problems they've created. And it's not going to, and they're going to make more problems. So, no. And the other thing they need to do is encourage corporate co-ops. We have them here in Pittsburgh. Mine Safety Appliances, where my father had worked for 30-some years. Our family has over 100 years under their belts collectively at that company. They have cooperative programs with multiple universities in the area. And the students end up taking longer to complete their degrees, but they take time off in between terms and work for the company, learn how to do the job. Because I'll tell you right now, when my father, a systems analyst, left the company, it took 3 engineers to replace him. 3.
You're just
because they were fresh out of college and they didn't
That's
know.
all you're doing.
No, I'm not.
That's all you're doing is including. How dare you capitalist pig, encourage indentured servitude?
Fine. It's called a career. And no, it's not indentured servitude because it's not anywhere near as long of a term as what those people dealt with. And there are multiple options
of their bosses. How dare you? Don't you understand? Don't you understand? Don't you care about people?
Yes, they want freedom from jobs.
Don't you care?
They want freedom to be on Snap.
You sound a lot like Obama right now. You need to stop.
Or Nancy Pelosi, one or the other.
Yeah.
We need to trade him in on a new model.
Thankfully, though, I have had much less of the work that Nancy Pelosi has had. I still know how to blink.
Oh, good God. Anyway, in new and exciting news, because Taylor keeps on sounding like Obama, I think I'm going to trade him in on a newer model. We already have him on the air here. What do you think, Jason? I'm joking.
Taylor's a terrible person.
He's going to have a complex.
Taylor is awful. Just saying.
Yes.
Why do you think I chain him up?
Taylor.
You aren't the first person to tell me that I'm awful tonight.
Yeah, I mean it in the nicest possible way.
Right.
This is why I chain him up, folks.
Freezing.
I'm going to have to gather my thoughts a little bit more on this community college thing because, it really kind of.
You got me on my wheelhouse because that's where I came from. As I was writing on, yes, everybody faint. I wrote on Real Raw.
Oh my gosh.
The world is going to end.
The world is going to end.
And on top of that, I actually did a video too.
Oh.
Yeah. So, be frightened. I am getting myself back into something resembling my normal self in spite of the insanity that I have been subjected to for the past several months. So
I gotta tell you, I had a really hard time getting back into the swing of things, like work-wise.
Yeah.
The holidays, man, they were so much fun.
Yeah, the holidays didn't help me at all as far as that's concerned. But before
it was like lazy overload times like 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I had other stuff going on, and it was really mincing my brain cells, and thankfully I think I've gotten myself out of it. Not formally, but informally, which is all that matters at the moment. You know, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
There's a great sign that was held up in one of the Je suis Charlie protests.
Mm-hmm.
Which said, "Stop killing people, you fracking twits." And you can interpret what it actually said.
Yeah.
That works.
That is my favorite.
That works.
That is my favorite. I like that.
I hate to admit it, but I am thankful for a pile of liberals at the moment. I'm not going to explain. You have to read Real Raw to understand why. You will get it immediately, but I am very thankful to them. So I know they're not listening, or at least it's very unlikely that they are. So, but there are good liberals out there. There are good ones.
I wish last night I went down to the vigil at the museum since I was in town, and if it weren't so cold, I would have done it. But
yeah,
I was there. I was there in spirit. That's for sure.
Well, we're out of time, so have a good one, folks. We'll be back next week.